r/askreddit. What's the dumbest thing you actually believed?
As a kid, my sister told me that we had an older brother that died. She said he died when playing bowling and his fingers didn't come out the ball and slid all the way down the alley. Then he turned into a skittle.
I used to think that people exclusively wore hats if they were bald because that's why my dad wore a hat.
Oh, I thought my dad couldn't read for too long. He never read me bedtime stories, always tired from working all day. The fact that he was reading newspapers all the time didn't really connect.
That reindeer wasn't an actual animal, but specifically a mythical animal that Santa Claus used. I believed this until I was 23 or so when I saw some nature documentary talking about reindeer. I was like, "Wah-wah."
More so naive and innocent, rather than dumb but still funny. My dad used to tell us kids that a dwarf/little person worked in and operated every car park barrier in the world. Every time he drove up to one, he'd press the button for the ticket and say, "Cheers, mate, how's the wife?" and fake a conversation as he waited for the barrier to open, LOL.
I was convinced that Greeks still worshipped Zeus and other gods for a while after I heard the word Greek Orthodox Church as a kid.
This reminds me of another stupid thing I believed. When I was in middle school, I watched a documentary about Gothic churches. I believed that goth was a religion. I asked a couple goth friends at the time about their religion. They played along for a while that day, until finally I realized they were laughing at me. I later realized Gothic is describing the architecture of the church. My friends never let me live that one down.
When I was a little kid, I believed that when people got divorced, they had a divorce ceremony, like where they had to go to church and say, "I don't." And I imagined the woman wore a black divorce dress like her wedding dress had been dyed black, and that everybody went to the reception where the ex-bride and ex-groom sat on opposite sides of the hall, and there was a divorce cake where the little bride and groom on top had their backs to each other with their arms angrily crossed. I eventually learned from watching my mom's soap operas that this was not the case, and was kind of disappointed because I'd been to a few weddings by then and was interested in what a divorce ceremony was like.
I'm a divorce lawyer, and I want this to happen so bad. I would be a guaranteed invite to probably all the divorce ceremonies.
My dog went to a farm until I was 35.
That's funny because my dog did actually do and live on a farm.
I believe my uncle's roommate just slept on the couch.
We lived with our uncles for a while when my mother worked on the pipeline. I thought they were so selfless by sharing a bed so us kids could have the other bedroom. I would be a teen before I learned that one of my uncles wasn't my uncle. He was just my uncle's lover.
When I was little, I genuinely believed the Teletubbies were evil, and that if I didn't watch them on TV every night, even though I hated the show, that they would come and get me. To be fair, though, they're kind of creepy.
As a child, when I tried to imagine Satan, I only see Teletubbies. One of my favorite songs growing up was Telsey's Don't Go, Jason Waterfalls.
Listen to the rivers and jakes that you're used to.
That sperm was the size of tennis balls and would burst forth from the head of your penis if you slept with a woman, slither across the bed up into her, and make the baby. Thanks Facts of Life pop-up book with no adults willing to clarify that the objects within were not always to scale.
I had a friend who called me up, somewhat frantic, after the first time he masturbated. He said that he thought that millions of sperm were supposed to come out, but he only got 4 or 5. I had to explain to him that sperm were microscopic, and that what came out of him was globs of semen. He was so relieved. I hung up the phone and laughed my butt off.
When we played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, my little sister used to accept the lamest missions and not get good rewards. I told her about it, and she responded with, "How would you like it if you were a poor Pokemon that lost its mom and was stuck all alone and had nothing to give someone to save you?" I laughed my head off at her because it's not real, duh, but secretly I feel that in my soul sometimes.
Until I was way too old, I didn't know vaginas existed. I thought women just had blank space there and all births were C-sections.